In a world where the compact SUV seems to rule, which one do you choose? Well, in my mind, there's only one now, and it's this. It's the 2022 BMW 23i or 23i. There's no plug-in part. There's really no battery, some sort of mild hybrid thing going on. But realistically, it's a petrol engine car underneath that. That little bonnet there has the petrol engine on it. The little bump across the top of it is actually there because the engine's underneath it. And in my opinion, this is the best compact car or possibly hatchback car you can buy on the market today in Ireland, bar none. So in a world of electricity coming and electric cars and mystical stuff going on, it is quite refreshing to have a 2-litre petrol straight up, no plugging in, no messing around with it. Now, why do I say that? Because time, ladies and gentlemen, time it is. I read a review the other day. Giles Corn put it out in his article in the newspaper, a Jaguar I-Pace that he bought himself and has just traded in an electric car. End of story, he wants to get rid of it because it's too much of an inconvenience for him. And I understand he can be quite aggressive in his opinion, but let's be serious. Time is critical these days. We're in a world where we are speeding up. Everything's getting faster. Electric cars want us to slow down because you slow down to go further. You stop the charge, you know, it adds time all around. This runs on just wet fuel, just petrol, put it in, it goes. You run out, put some more in. It's very quick, it's very convenient. You just get on with your life and you stop worrying about your range and how far you can go. And I'm going to give you examples. So the big example is, picked it up on Monday, drove to Portlaoise. Then I picked up the kids and drove home. Then we drove to Galway. Okay, so that's 100 kilometres down to Portlaoise, and then 150 or 170 kilometres down to Galway, and then back again in the same night via Tullamore. Then the next morning I got up and I went to the airport and got there, and then I drove home last night and I had to put a bit of petrol in it. 680 something kilometres what it did before the tank was empty. It actually did that. Then I put some petrol in it and I drove on this morning. There was no standing at a charge point or waiting or listening to someone giving out to you in your ear because you're there at a charge point too long, or the overstay fee cuts in, or lads, this is not convenient and time is critical. But besides all that, let's look at why I think that the BMW is the best of the small SUVs you can buy today. God, it's windy out there today. I can hear it across the top of the trees, but not in the forest. Anyway, driver's seat. Big thud from that door, and it's lovely, very refreshing as well. This car starts up, it's all kind of here on this floating console, of which you can put tons of things underneath. There's a wireless charging tray there that you have a little barge you can push forward to secure your phone in place. It actually holds it very well, and the wireless charge is relatively quick, although it does make my phone hot. It makes every phone hot. You do have two USB-C connections up front, no USB-A that I could find. This opens, but they didn't change the sides for the right-hand drive cars. They just left it at the left. It doesn't matter. You work it, you press the button, you open it up, you put your hand in here and do what you want to do. It's fine. Starting it up, it all happens from this floating console. You start it up from here. Infotainment is wrapped around to the driver's position. There are no physical buttons here on the dashboard, save for front and rear window demister, and a knob here for turning on and off this vent in the centre. Other than that, there's no buttons. Everything is tucked away in the infotainment system. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, both wireless, really good, works very well. And this roof pulls back to allow a lot more light into the rear of the cabin. It also allows me to put cameras on the roof so I can look forward. And everything up here is classic BMW design. I love the steering wheel. Seating position is top notch. I'm giving this car essentially 8 to 9 out of 10 for the driver positioning and driver compatibility. I absolutely adore this thing. Now, we'll have a more detailed look at the interior of this as we drive along as well, but we're going to have another little look at a few bits and pieces and features within that infotainment system that you need to know. So a quick look at the infotainment system here before we go anywhere. You can see here it's got personal balance settings and stuff. You can go into My Modes and change that to whatever you want, efficient. Now, the problem begins though of when you go into the home. So you got all these screens which are okay, but it requires you to push and pull a lot back and forward, kind of looking at things while it's downloading stuff. And then when you actually want to go into some of the menus, you get a menu that goes bigger again. Look at all that. Now, some of that comes from my phone, so it'll actually say Spotify on Apple CarPlay and things like that. Heating controls are on the bottom. I do find this it's awkward to use. Like, there's just so much in it. There's too much. Look, messages in CarPlay, messages are here, phone and CarPlay, plug share and CarPlay, I don't need that thankfully, Waze and CarPlay and all that sort of stuff. But you can go in here to get into driver settings and heads up display, and it's too many things. Like the driving settings here. Look at iconic sounds and drive off support and hill descent. These are all in this. Lane departure warning, parking, driving. These are all distance control is buried in here. Like buried. Look at it, close, far. That should be a button. Avoid overtaking on the left. Have that turned off. Switch to cruise control, all that sort of stuff. It's all buried in sub-menus that require you to go 4 or 5 steps into the system. I'm not debating the system is good. It is good. It's just it's back to the old iDrive. It's too complicated. Now, it's not complicated when you get into this, which is Apple CarPlay. Now you're into normal stuff. Now your menus disappear. But here at the top, you can get back to it by pressing home again. Bring you back here where you were. So it is workable, it is doable, but I just find it a little bit too complicated. That familiar petrol engine sound is just puttering on there. I'm actually very happy with it. I swear, wet fuels, man, there's something about how easy the whole thing is and how simple it's been set up for us, you know. Wherever you are, you're going to get a petrol station that will have petrol, probably 24 hours a day. Last night I came home at 18 kilometres range, went down this morning and bought petrol at £1, €1.50. Sure, what's to stop me like? But listen, cracking on with the actual car. To drive, it's very good. The turn-in is quite nice, particularly in sport mode. It does actually weight up steering a bit. In the individual modes or the efficiency modes, it's quite light steering, but it's okay. Still feels all right. It's good response out of the whole thing. Suspension though, suspension is very firm over bumps. It is worth, if you're thinking about buying it and you're basing upon this review, please check the suspension first. Go out for a drive on a bumpety road at this thing, as we would call it, on a buckety road, and just check that suspension, because it can be a little bit rough. That said, cabin noise is absolutely minimum. Responsiveness from the engine's actually really good, no matter what one you put it into. High speed, it's totally sound. The quietness at motorway speeds is absolutely phenomenal. It's a gorgeous thing to drive. I find it very difficult to find a flaw in it, if I'm honest. I can't see a reason why you wouldn't buy it. Looks, deadly. Drivability, deadly. Fuel economy, it's fine. Does 7.3 litres per 100 kilometres, but all of that has been on motorway with me, and all of it at a fairly hurried speed as well, as we're trying to get to a funeral on Monday, a removal, should I say, and get there at the right time. Why wouldn't you buy it? Why would you know? Because you want an electric car. This comes in electric. It's coming out later on in the year in a full electric. You can see a review of that on my YouTube channel. I went over to the UK to drive the full electric version of this car. What else would you not? Why else would you not buy? There's the thing reminding me, I'm at a stop sign here. You're on this corner, nice and gentle. Why else would you not buy it? Like, I can't think of a good reason to not buy this car. Everything works, everything's good. Another good fact, you stick your phone into the charging point, push the little bar closed, now it's charging and you can't touch it. Stay away from it, it's there. You're not touching the phone, you're not answering the phone, you're not tempted to touch it because it's charging. It's doing its thing. Brilliant. Anyway, I'm really impressed with this car. I really do mark this car 9 out of 10. It's losing a point for the suspension. It's a bit firm on the suspension front, but after that, I cannot take away anything from it. I think it's a really good, smart looking car. And I think the design overall is a proper good looking design. Looks like a Mini X1 or something. I don't know, it just looks really, really, really good. And I'm very impressed with the car in general. Engine sounds are good. There is iconic sounds built into it, which you can turn on. So when you're in the right mode, which I'll go into my modes, and I'll go sport. Which are there, they are there. It's not the sound that Hans Zimmer made around, but there's also a boost button. So if I hold on the boost button, I get 10 seconds of boost. Boost! It's stupid, but it's good. It's fine. But when you're ready and you want to settle down, you can just drive home in this car. Like, this isn't mad race car stuff that's always going to be bothering you. You just turn on the mode into efficiency or comfort, and you can cruise on home. And in sport mode, it makes a lovely burble all the time. It's very nice. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you on that, because that is my review of the BMW X1 currently. I think it's one of the best cars BMW make, and I think you should definitely have a look at it if you're looking for an SUV, man or woman. This is not like a sexist review or anything. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've hit the subscribe button. Leave me a comment. I'd love to know what you think of the X1. And until the next time, I'll see you on the far side.